Today we're going to be talking about some home buyer tips if you're buying a new construction home. So when I'm talking about a new construction home, I am not talking about buying a piece of land, finding a contractor, getting an architect. That's a totally different animal. In this video, I'm going to be talking about new construction in the context of you're buying a home from a builder. So D.R. Horton, Pulte, Toll Brothers, those are just a couple of the names that we see all around the country. As a home buyer, especially a first-time home buyer, whenever you walk into these properties, the model homes, they're beautiful. They're so beautiful. They're so beautiful that often you miss out on some stuff you should be paying attention to. So in this video, I'm gonna be the one telling you, hey, if I was buying a new build after being a lender for 18 years, here's what I would be asking and what I would be doing. Now, if you're new to the channel, my team is licensed everywhere in America. Yes, we want to be your lenders. My whole team's like me. We're honest, we're real, we don't mess around, we're here to help you, and we're gonna make sure that your house is a benefit and not a burden. 786-933-2077. Shameless plug over. I know. Okay, let's dig into it. Number one, before you even go to look at any new build houses, you need to look up the builder's reviews. Oh, this is going to be a brutal truth video. I can feel it. Here's the thing. There are some builders in America building great houses that will stand the test of time. There are other builders building houses that you are going to move in and the tub is going to fall on your head. They are cutting corners so quickly and so fast. I've heard stories. I was talking to one of my real estate agents in Texas recently that I work with a lot, and we were talking about the new builds. She's in an area where there are 20 new builders, and she has specific ones that she'll recommend to clients and others she won't. And I was like, oh, what happened on that one? She's like, Jen, they tried to put in an air conditioner from 1984. What? Yeah. I had an inspection and they're like, why are you using an old air conditioner? And they were like, well, that's what we had. We ran out of things. We wanted to close on time. And like the concept that new construction, someone would be throwing in an air conditioner from 1980 sounds crazy, but it happens. It happens. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look up the builder reviews. So their name. And then I would usually do, if you're like San Antonio, Texas, right? I would do it to the city and state that you're in. Because here's the thing. The biggest builders in the United States, there's going to be lawsuits against them. It's inevitable. If you Google any builder's name and the word construction defect lawsuit, another thing to Google, you're going to see there's lawsuits. And does it mean that that builder is building terrible homes across America? No. Look, if there's a lawsuit in every state, yes, but that's not usually what I see. What I'll see is that you have a builder, I want to use a name, but I can't. So there was a builder where in California, they were like known to be the really nice builder. When I started doing loans across the country, I was talking to a client and he was like, I can't get out of this house quick enough. I'm like, well, who's the builder? And he told me it was the people from California. And I'm like, wow, that's a nice builder. He's like, no, they're not. Basically the insulation that had been installed in the entire community had mold. Whoever the actual laborers on the job had done a terrible job with every single thing they did. That's what you need to understand, is that you can have because sometimes people will be like, oh, I bought a home from XYZ in Maryland and they were great, so they're going to be great in Florida. It depends on the local crew. It depends on who the plumber is, the electrician, the people doing the drywall. That's what you need to think about. And that's why when you're looking at reviews, you want to look local. You want to drive around the job site, because the bottom line is, you can see this in the same town. There's some construction crews that really care about their work, and there's some that just think it's a joke. And if you're a home buyer, you don't want your house to be a joke. So definitely look up reviews. I also really like Reddit. I think Reddit can be helpful. Better Business Bureau. One of the things I'm looking for in the reviews is how do they treat people with their warranty? So when you're buying new construction, one of the great perks is the house has a warranty. Depending on the state It will have specific warranty for different things, you know, a certain time period for structural, a certain time period for soft finishes, and it will depend on the builder as well. Some state has requirements, some don't. So you're gonna wanna know, like, hey, what are the warranties associated with this house? And then you wanna look at the reviews, because sometimes you read the reviews and they're like, I hate this company. I've been trying to get XYZ fixed. I've put in 62 tickets. It's just a game where your warranty is a joke. They don't fix anything. And you see like 100 reviews like that. Is that something personally I would be jumping to do? No, not unless I was accepting that, yeah, it's a fake warranty, because trying to get them to actually honor it is going to be a gauntlet. So one reason to look at reviews before you go to the house. And I say that because the minute you walk through a model home, you're done. If they did their job right, you're done, you're sold, right? They do a great job of doing that. Okay, so you've looked up the reviews of the builder, you're comfortable. Now what? Look, would I personally walk into a builder's office and be like, oh yes, I wanna buy a house, you'll help me, right? I would get a real estate agent. And I know that there's a lot of people that are like, real estate agents are the worst. Look, a good one's not. You know, for instance, the gal I was talking about, she's in Dallas. There's 20 builders there. She knows, hey, I can actually get more from that builder than what they're offering. If you walk into the office, odds are, if you see online, oh, we'll give you $5,000 towards closing costs, you're gonna say, hey, I saw this offer online. And they'll go, okay, we'll do that, right? But the real estate agent who does this all day long and negotiates on new builds, she's gonna go, I talked to Jerry last week, the houses aren't moving as quick as they want. Hey, yeah, we wanna get this house, but we're gonna need $20,000 in closing costs. Yeah, and it gets done. So I would go in with a real estate agent that knows new builds. And the way I would test that is I would literally be like, if I'm in an area with a bunch of builders, I'd be like, hey, like, what builders do you think are the best and which ones do you think are the worst? And if they go, oh, they're all good. Nope, You know, if they go, well, I don't want to talk negatively about any of them. You're not my agent. Bye. Like, look, a good agent's going to have some that they really don't want to show you. And it's generally going to be because they don't have good warranties. They have a bad reputation, because a good agent doesn't want to sell you a house that you call them to complain about, and they don't want you to be unhappy, right? So I would be asking that question. I would do one of those days, guys, I would be doing my research first to see what the general reviews are, but then I would be talking to the agent about it for sure, and I would be having this conversation before I signed a buyer's agreement. Now you may be like, okay, well, Jen, I just want to go there, and then I'm going to call an agent once I know which one I want. You can't. Most of these builders, the minute you step in the door, if you step in the door without an agent, you lose your right to negotiate without one. That's a lot of them. So you do want to understand the rules. Now, if you decide to you're like, I don't want to deal with a realtor. No. Okay, that's always your choice. You just have to understand that the sales associate works for the builder. Their job is to get as much money for the builder and to move that house as fast as possible. That's their job. If I was selling my house, my realtor's job is to get as much money as possible for me and to move my house as quickly as possible. So don't have the illusion that they work for you. They don't, okay? Now, let's talk about the builder's lender. This is an important one. So a lot of times builders have where if you use their lender, they give you money towards closing costs. Couple different things here. There are some times where using the builder's lender, they're giving you a real credit. And the reason why they want you to use their lender is because they want control. It's a control thing, right? Also, in many cases, they own the lending company. So not only are they making money off of you on the house, they're also making money off of you on the loan. And you're like, well, Jen, I don't care. Like, whatever, whoever can give me the best deal. And look, I agree. If it's whoever can get you the best deal that's real, you know, because what we'll see sometimes is they'll be like, oh, well, the builder's giving me $6,000. Will you give me $6,000, Jen? And I'm like, no. What are the rates and fees that lender's charging you? And they'll be like, oh, Jen, 7%, $5,000 in lender fees. And I'm like, yeah, we're at 6.875 with $1,000. Like, it doesn't make sense. So you always want to make sure, and those are just gobbledygook made up numbers, guys, but you want to actually see if it's a real credit, because a lot of times it's just a shell game, right? You think the money is moving over here, but the money's always stayed here. So really watch out for that. The other thing, and the reason why I wanted to do this video, is I was talking to a gal last night, and she's like, yeah, you know, we ended up buying 2 builds from XYZ. And, you know, she named a mortgage company that wasn't the builder's mortgage company. She's like, they really screwed up our escrow account. I'm like, what happened? She's like, well, you know, we bought the house and then all of a sudden we got this huge bill from the new mortgage lender that was telling us we owed all these taxes because they screwed up the taxes. I'm like, wait a second, who did your loan? Well, the builder's lender, that's who screwed up your taxes. Like, let's be real about this. So when you're looking at a new build, you want to look at, when they give you the payment breakdown, you need to pay attention to the property taxes. And the reason I say that is that, for example, let's use Texas. In Texas, a $400,000 house, most parts of the state, the property taxes are going to be 2 to 3% annually, right? But with a new build, since the house is not complete until right before closing, the current taxes on the house might be like $1,000. So what happens is, in many cases, the builder's lender just goes off the current tax bill. And they don't say to you, hey, actually, this is going to be, you know, closer to over $8,000 to $12,000 a year. Your taxes are going to be close to $1,000 a month. You know, instead, they're showing you taxes $100, and you're like, wow, I can afford this payment. Great. And you're like, isn't that illegal? No. And here's the thing. So like, when I'm qualifying people, I qualify off of projected assessed value, because I don't like fear. Like, I don't want one of my clients calling me being like, what the hell? My taxes went up 200%, like 3 months after closing, right? That'd be horrible. In this case, what they're doing is they're just using the current tax bill, even though they know it's going to change, right? They don't have to estimate a higher amount, because look, there is some guesswork to it, but at the same point, like, you know, saying it's $100 a month, that's shenanigans. But their argument is, we went off of the current tax bill. And then there's some ridiculous rule. I was talking to CJ on my team about this. He's like, yeah, if there's not a tax bill, the minimum's $50 a month until they get the tax bill. I'm like, that's ridiculous. He's like, yeah, tell people now. So I am. So here's the thing. When you're looking at a new build with the property taxes, you need to understand that the property taxes being estimated may not be an accurate reflection of reality. So what you're going to want to know is, hey, for this city and county, what is the estimated percentage for taxes? And the second question you want to ask is, are there any improvement additional fees to my tax bill? So depending on what state you're in, for instance, in California, many new developments have what's known as Mello-Roos, stupid word, Melloros, yeah. Mello-Roos, man, it's taxes upon taxes. I've seen houses where the house is $500K and the Mello-Roos are $800 a month. It's just an extra tax, basically. You know, sometimes it's dressed up as a bond. And what it's for is the developer, when they did the development, instead of them paying for the city sewers and the electrical and everything that goes in, instead, you're paying the city back for putting all of that in over a period of time. So it's important you ask that question. And you're like, don't they have to tell me all this? No. I mean, oh gosh, guys, it's mind-blowing to me. Like, they'll probably give you a sheet that lays it all out, but unless you're looking for it, you're not going to know what you're looking at. So if I was buying a new construction house, I would be saying, hey, like, what's the tax percentage that I should assume? I would never assume the current tax bill is correct, because there's no way it would be, because the county is not even going to reassess on the house until it's complete. And most of the time with a new build, the minute it's complete, you're closing. Now, if the house has been sitting around for a while, maybe. But if it's not complete yet, the current tax bill is going to be land only. So really, really watch out for that. Make sure you know what to expect, because what we always advise is, we actually collect higher is what I generally like to do. We don't have to, and we've had borrowers say, please don't, but I like to collect higher because I would rather that when your tax bill comes, they have money to pay it, and they're not calling you saying, hey, you have a $6,000 shortage. That's what happened to this gal. She ended up with 2 properties where she got a call from the mortgage company saying, hey, you've got a shortage. How are you going to pay this back? Which gave her a ton of stress. But it was something that honestly, truly up front, the lender could have stopped, right? But here's the thing. With the builder's lender, who do they work for? It's the builder's lender. They work for the builder. Okay? And here's the thing. If a salesperson drops you off at their desk, what's going to make you more comfortable? I mean, let's just think about it. If I wasn't a lender and I was looking at a payment and it had taxes at $100 and then, versus $1,000, it's a lot easier for me to sign on that dotted line thinking that my taxes are going to be $100. Now, in this gal's case, what's even worse is that the builder was advertising out of city limits, we have lower property taxes. They had all these big old signs, but the property improvement tax made up for any gain you would have had from that. And they were, going off of land value when they were initially quoting to borrowers. So really, really watch out for that. The other thing is the builder's insurance. Who do they work for? I know, we're learning a lot about ownership here. They work for the builder. And, sometimes we see stuff with this, sometimes we don't. The one that always sticks in my mind is I had a guy from California. He called me, it was a couple of years ago, and he's like, hey, I'm in contract for this house. I really can't afford it. It was when rates were jumping. So I think rates had gone from 3% to 6% in a year. He's like, I can't afford this, but they're telling me that I have to buy it, and they're having me liquidate my 401k. It was dramatic. And I'm like, what's the payment? And he's like telling me, and I'm like, wait, what? The insurance was $50 a month. It was in a California fire zone and close to $1 million house. I'm like, there's no way that it's going to stay at $50. And that's what you guys need to know. If an insurance agent or insurance company quotes you really low at first, it doesn't have to stay like that, because you would assume, oh, it says $50. It's going to be $50 for at least a year, right? No, you can literally get something in the mail a few months later that say, oh, we re-underwrote your policy. It's actually $700 a month, right? That happens, and that's why Florida is a good example on that. And not even new build related, just insurance related. We always tell people, because Florida's a wild state to begin with, but if someone's going with specific companies that we know they bid low, but then often they increase their premiums, the guy at Guaranteed Rate Insurance that we use, Dwan, he tells people, he's like, hey, look, it looks good, but just so you know, we've had clients where right after closing, they get a note that says, hey, we had a drone fly over your house, your premium's going up because we don't like a shingle on your roof. So really be careful for that. A really easy one, and I probably should have done this sooner just because I know a lot of people probably fell asleep by now. It's buying a house. I know it's not interesting. Well, it is interesting though. This stuff can really mess you up. Okay, red flag alert. One of the questions I would ask is, okay, great. This house looks so lovely. I'm going to have my own inspector come through. Now, if the house is in the process of being built, I want multiple inspections. I want pre-drywall. I want pre-electrical. I want pre-plumb. I want them all. And you're like, that's a lot of money, Jen. I'm telling you, go watch this channel, Sci-Fi Inspections. I think it's Sci-Fi Home Inspections, CYFY. All the guy does is inspect new builds. Some of the stuff is crazy. It's oh, they just forgot to actually put together the plumbing. So if a builder says to you, we don't allow third-party inspectors, run. Just run. I wouldn't even take that risk in 10 billion years. Even if I was a billionaire, I'd be like, oh no, you already showed me your true face. Like, here's the thing. If you're doing quality work, right? If I'm a builder and I'm proud of what I do, am I okay getting, it's just like rates, right? Like if a client says to us, I'm going to shop your rate. Okay, go shop it. Like it's okay. Go shop it. I'm confident in what I'm offering you. I know I'm being competitive. Cool. Same thing with builders. If they say, no, you can't have an inspector, it's because they're building not high quality products. It's that simple. Because if they were building high quality products, why would they care? Why would they care? Right? And look, it's pretty unusual that they say, no home inspections. And I would say if you find stuff on the home inspection, I would want the bulk of it, as much as possible, 99% fixed prior to close. And the reason I say that is because sometimes they'll go, oh yeah, don't worry about that. We fixed that during the warranty period. But if you didn't do your research and it's one of these companies where they really don't honor their warranty, you're gonna have a miserable experience because you're gonna be sitting there emailing them every day. Dear Barbara, you told me that you would cover this during the warranty period. As per our conversation, these were the 97 things wrong. Attached is the inspection, attached is our prior emails, blah, 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 but they're just ignoring you because that's their whole motto. So here's the thing. New builds are something we're going to see more and more of throughout the country. California just rolled back all their, not all, but a good chunk of their environmental protections that had stopped building. I'm very hopeful that we get quality builders in, and that's across the country. I'm really hopeful that we see more attention to detail. I'm really hopeful that some of the shenanigans that we saw in 2020 onward stop with building. Right? Because that's the thing. That's kind of where I see, like if I'm looking at houses and it's like 2018 or 17, I'm usually more comfortable that it was built right versus 2020, 21, and 22. Because I know those years, how many shortages there were, how many shutdowns there were, as well as, just lack of labor pool because you had this huge, all of a sudden, building all happening at once. Back to my favorite realtor in Dallas, Michelle Montmayor. You guys may know her. You may have worked with her. 20 builders, one area. That's a lot, right? How many plumbers? How many electricians? How many? Who's paying the most? Who's watching their work? There's a lot to it. So bottom line is this. Buying a new build can be great, but you do want to make sure you're doing your research first. Don't just fall in love with the beautiful house. I know they pay a lot of money to make those houses look tantalizing. They're in your head. It's not by accident, friends. But look, if you do your research, if you do the things that I recommended, you'll be fine. Just really be cautious, eyes open. It's an investment, and make sure you know your numbers. Questions, comments, as always, feel free to reach out, 786-933-2077.